Grew up in Middletown and definitely consider myself a Dauphin County girl, although I've been across the river in New Cumberland for the last decade or so, but I've never rooted over there. It was a transplant without roots, and I look forward to, in the very near future, being able to consider moving back to Dauphin County. I just retired on Friday from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania after 37 years, and Maria, I hope you're better at this retirement thing than I am. My friends are worried that I'm not doing very well at retirement. But seriously, I only retired so that I could take this job. As I approached my eligibility for retirement with the state, and my last 2.5 years were spent as the Deputy Secretary for the State Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs under Secretary Gary Tennis. And through my work there, very interactive with Dauphin County, who has already been known as one of the best SCAs, single county authorities in the state. I learned of that vacancy, and as my full retirement eligibility approached, I was just so interested in bringing what I had learned at the state and the work that I've done at the state level with policy across the state. But the only thing that was lacking was I really didn't see the people that we were interacting with, the people whose lives we were impacting, with the exception of talking to way too many parents who had lost children due to usually heroin addiction. My office down in Cameron Street, I'm excited. It's where people walk in the door to see us, to get services from us, to help us. And probably there was, if I would say that there's a street that is the street of my life, it's Cameron Street. From Harrisburg through Steelton, through High Spire, through Middletown, it's where I've been born and raised and the place I call home. I'd like to share a little bit about my vision for the department, the Drug and Alcohol Department. What I thought I would be spending the majority of my first months, maybe even year, I don't have to do. I thought I would have to convince my boss to help me convince the commissioners that we need to break down the walls between the departments in government, and I don't have to do that. There are no walls, and that's already been done. A very visionary thinking in my mind, because that's certainly not the case everywhere. If I may be so bold, I don't think there's any issue like drug and alcohol addiction or drug and alcohol abuse, suffering, that crosses every single department's budgets, staff, programs, like the issue of drug and alcohol. Depending on the study, it's usually been 1 in 4, but lately I've been hearing and reading a lot that probably in this county, 1 in 3 families are directly affected, meaning that they not only know someone peripherally, they are connected to somebody that they love who is suffering with this disease. And that means we can't look to the side of a table, we can't cross the street, we can't go to a meeting, we can't go anywhere without being surrounded by people that need the services that we have at Dauphin County Drug and Alcohol. I think one of the overarching things that I would include in my vision is just leading the charge to continue to evolve the role of Dauphin County Drug and Alcohol. Historically, the SCAs, single county authorities, have been the funder of last resort, so a lot of people wouldn't have insurance or resources. But more and more people, through the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid expansion, and law that states that you now have to have medical insurance, it's a changing environment. And if we continue to view the Dauphin County Drug and Alcohol as the funder of last resort, we could quickly be making the agency irrelevant, and I'm not going to let that happen. We need to be moving the SCA towards being a one-stop shop for every resident in Dauphin County, no matter where they live, whether they're a parent, whether they're a child, whether they're a teacher, whether they're a counselor, as the one-stop shop for all information and services related to drug and alcohol in the county. We can't open the paper. We know that right now we are dealing with probably 8 or 9 Pennsylvanians a day, certainly also in Dauphin County, dying of heroin addiction. We know that depending on which study you read, 70–80% of needle-injecting heroin users started with prescription drugs. So I've been working with Dauphin County through my state job, and so heartened to see the progress that has been made with drug take-back boxes being installed in so many of the municipalities. So many of our municipal law enforcement are now carrying naloxone, which is the miracle drug, the life-saving drug that can immediately reverse someone who is clinically dead from an opioid overdose and revive them and get them to the hospital so that they have a chance to get assessed and referred to treatment. Another overarching umbrella, I think, of the vision that I am so happy to have a supervisor who I don't have to even convince is right on the same page, and that is the integration of drug and alcohol into so many things. Even starting with our own smaller group, the Human Services agencies, we have children and youth. As I did my child abuse clearance training for my part-time job, teaching dance, and one of the whole chapters of the training resulted in a question that you had to answer. 70 to 80% of child abuse complaints that come from neglect, a child left in the car, a child left home alone, a child in the back of a car in the middle of the night while someone's out trying to score drugs, are related to drug and alcohol abuse. So it's almost imperative that we have strong coordination through children and youth. And we also have a new children and youth director who has that same philosophy. So I'm very much looking forward to working with children and youth, our Department of Aging, increasingly, the boomers, my age group and up, we're increasingly seeing that addiction is such a much more prevalent problem in the aging population. Not only the use of drugs themselves or the not using drugs in the right way, but also the issues that come from being a grandparent who might have a child or a son or a grandchild who's suffering, and those financial things that can happen with the grandparent wanting to bail them out or not being aware that the grandchild might be stealing from their medicine chest or stealing from their pocketbook. So that's ever increasing. And I'm also heartened that we bring probation and parole into our human services meeting, because there's no greater group than the criminal justice system, probation, the county jail system, and I call a lot on my 5 years at the State Board of Probation and Parole.